everyone. Good evening. Hello. Hi. I'm Alexandra Blount. I've been working in project management for 12 years, everything from children's books to car manufacturing to online banking platforms. And I think that one of the most important and fascinating areas of project management is risk. Risk management goes right back to the beginning, as far back as Noah. He was the original risk manager, and he got it right. 350 years ago, Edward Lloyd's Coffee House opened in London. Shipping magnates met there to work on how to limit the risk exposure to their ships, and they started making insurance deals. These days, risk management is really closely linked to and driven by insurance. And you can insure almost anything these days, especially at Lloyd's. Ugly Betty's smile was insured for $10 million. David Beckham's legs used to be insured for £100 million, no idea how much now. And according to Lloyd's legend, 60,000 people have taken out policies just in case they're turned into a vampire or a werewolf. So today, managing risk is part of everything we all do. Think of all the things that we insure in case something goes wrong. Holidays, health, life, your pets. And how many risk mitigation steps do we take every single day, even something as simple as putting your seatbelt on or locking your front door. It's second nature to all of us, so it should be second nature to every business and every project. Projects are about change. Change introduces uncertainty, and uncertainty is risk. The project needs to know how to identify it, assess it, plan and implement controls to manage risk, to stop it affecting the project management objectives. The problem is, it seems to be forgotten as soon as the project actually starts up. Ultimately, if nobody is interested in the risk information, the project manager is likely to stop giving it the time it needs. As a result, the risk of project failure goes up. Commitment to risk management needs to be driven from the top as much as by the project manager. A good example is Camelot. They operate our lottery. It's the 5th largest lottery in the world. The company's reputation and survival depend on people being able to buy lottery tickets every week. This means billions of pounds worth of sales. They've got over 40,000 terminals in the UK, but they do this with only 750 staff. So how do they do it? Well, my dad sold Camelot their risk management system, and he told me that every single day, every single employee in the company fills out a risk sheet. The whole company, right from the board down, is committed to risk management. But compare this to something much more important than the lottery. In 2011, following an earthquake and a tsunami, as we all probably remember, 3 reactors at the Fukushima plant in Japan melted down. And according to the post-investigation report, this was because of an institutionalised complacency about risk management and a fundamental failure to understand tectonic risk in the most earthquake-prone country in the world. So who's responsible for managing risk on a project? Project manager? The answer is everyone. It has to start at the top, with the board setting the risk strategy, the overall target level of risk, and the kind of risk that the company wishes to take. To make it effective, everyone needs to be involved, aware and engaged, and it really needs to matter. But even if a great risk management culture exists, as a project manager, it can be hard to get heard. There could be hundreds of projects and thousands of risks in your company, so how do you get that really valuable management attention? One way is to remember the old Dr. Pepper adverts and say, what's the worst that could happen when you're identifying and assessing a risk? In June 2012, a single software update to a processing system at RBS caused their whole online banking systems to crash. I'm sure some of you probably remember very well. Customers were stranded abroad, home purchases fell through. One customer even was threatened with having his life support machine switched off in a Mexican hospital because he couldn't pay. So if you articulate the worst case impact if the risk occurs, then people tend to understand the risk a lot better and start to take more notice, even if the probability of the risk occurring is quite low. So if you say there's a slight risk of rain next Monday, so what? Buy an umbrella. It doesn't matter, does it? Instead, if you say there's a slight risk of rain next Monday, if it happens, the Olympics opening ceremony won't happen, which will delay the start of the Games, which will damage the country's reputation, economy and future, people might listen. And it might sound drastic, but in 2008, China fired over 1,000 rockets into the sky to sieve the clouds to keep the Beijing Olympics opening ceremony dry. So once you've assessed and identified and assessed the risk, you need to manage it. Accept, reduce, avoid, transfer, contingency. They're all some of the standard responses that we use. So you do all the right things, You plan and you implement your mitigation, but risk management doesn't end there. It continues even when a risk materialises. In 1983, 2 satellites were sent to the wrong orbits when their rockets misfired. This risk cost at the time $180 million, about $400 million today. But instead of paying out, the underwriter at the time telephoned NASA, and he worked out it was cheaper to send a salvage mission to rescue the satellites than to pay. Next year, the shuttle was launched and the satellites brought back, and it reduced the overall cost by $50 million. So people generally associate risk with downside, but it can be just as expensive to miss out on opportunities. Kodak invented the digital Wi-Fi camera in 1975, but they didn't want to risk their other projects, so they suppressed the invention. By 2013, they barely escaped bankruptcy. Project opportunity is the other side of the risk coin. But for example, you might want to take a task off the critical path, you could run activities in parallel, you could build better relationships across your teams. If you fail to do this, you may create risk by preventing you having enough time or resources later on. And finally, risks need to be communicated and documented. Focusing on risks might suggest that you're looking for excuses for failure rather than ways to succeed. But I hope that these examples show that risk management is as much about success and opportunity as it is about predicting failure. And without effective risk management, you're much more likely to be on the losing side. So, to sum up, for your risk management to be effective on your project, you need to be paranoid, you need to have a knack for catastrophizing, you need to be an out-of-the-box thinker and an opportunist. You need to be the crazy person who wants to build a boat, but you live in the middle of the desert. And maybe then your project will succeed. Thank you very much.